Good morning. Today we are having Cafesito with Sirgio and Gacho Marx of Los Mentirosos.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Gacho Marx, and
I'm Sirgio.
And we are
Los Mentirosos, hacking puro sananto pride.
We are a Latinx, all Latinx drag king troupe from San Antonio, Texas, from San Antonio. A lot of people don't know what a drag king is. And when we're at shows, I am La Voz de Los Mentirosos. I'm the MC. So I kind of narrate and keep the night going. And I talk about what a drag king is and then kind of keep things topical about what's happening in the world around us at the time. Like this hat right here that's going to kind of chill out for the duration of the interview. So a drag king is exactly like a drag queen and completely opposite. So we are, for the most part, we are representing as male. So whatever gender we may live our life as, whether it's female, trans, or non-binary, we present as male when we perform, or masculine figures when we perform. So the bigotes, the hairstyles, the jewelry, everything is masculine representation, or our idea of masculine representation, right? So that's what a drag king is. And just really a side note about drag in general, it's political. Drag is a political statement. It started off as a political statement. It's flourished into artistry. And now with the pandemic, the digital world of drag is even taking things a step further, right? We all, and I can speak for most folks in my drag community, my drag brothers and sisters, and every drag in between, is that we feel like rock stars a little bit now. We're making music videos, we're editing music videos. People are, we have a green screen studio. This is our sala. This backdrop is just here. It's permanent in our living room for things like Cafesito with Swu and Diana Lopez, or we've done Vota Jota in the last week. We've done Rock the Vote in the last week. And we're super excited to be able to do all of this and spread these messages, but to spread them while we're in drag, because it just makes the statement that much more political. We don't always have to talk about politics to be political. Just kind of let that sit in your brain for a little bit, right? So that's the Los Mentirosos kind of why we do what we do. We're making space. We're making space for drag kings. We're making space for masculine performers that are doing things on a cross-dressing kind of component. So we're super excited. We're the troupe is very strong. We have 5 very active members who just would do anything to get this message across. So we really like it. Drag is performance art, right? And everyone can do performance art. Whether you think you can do it or not, we can all do it in there. We all have that artist kind of hidden within, right? And it's just a matter of bringing it out. Sometimes you need somebody to guide you through finding your performance artist inside of you. So I'm gonna kind of bring Sirgio in here to talk about how Los Mentirosos kind of was born out of not Sirgio's project and Sirgio's brain, but Hiomara, Gio's projects and Gio's brain, because we cannot have one without the other. And we could not have We wouldn't be a drag king troupe with a artistic director. We wouldn't be a drag king troupe that speaks on politics and body posi, most importantly. Not we have a lot of different subject matter, but mostly body posi. We would not be this drag king troupe if our origin did not include Hiomara Bazaldua.
Los Mentirosos, we weren't always called Los Mentirosos. I started a dance genre, a dance fusion troupe called Zombie Bazaar Banza Fusion. And Southwest Workers Union has always been a really great partner in that, in giving us space. And yeah, and so we've always done these politically aligned or politically charged dance pieces, and we've played on gender roles in the sense that sometimes like Michi Fink would wear a mustache, and sometimes we would do pieces where we were all in mustache, but we never did like an actual drag piece. And so we wanted to do something for a big burlesque event that was coming up that we wanted to apply for. And so we decided to do a drag number. And so that's how we started. Since we were Zombie Bazaar, we called ourselves the Zomboys. So that's how we started. And then later on, when we realized we were really into like having fun and dancing to some of our old, favorite songs, and putting cool routines together, we realized it was its own thing and that it needed its own space, its own night of practice. So yeah, we take the performance and the artistry very seriously, and we spend a lot of time on our choreographies and stuff like that. So that's kind of how this whole group started, because we were investing a whole night of practices and trying to make, book events as this group, and we couldn't go under this Zomboy name. People wouldn't get it. So so then we were like, well, we're getting a little bit older in our drag, so we're more men, we're not boys anymore. And so then that name Mentirosos kind of just popped up out of nowhere. And in the Mentirosos, like, liars, well, because in drag we're all lying about something. So that's kind of where the Mentirosos came from. And yeah, and then we just started doing things, and places like Swoo kept booking us because we were doing, I think because we definitely found our tío kind of vibes. Because at first we were doing kind of anything, and then we definitely got our, our persona as a big group. And so so yeah, we started throwing out our tío vibes, and then we started wanting to do other things with it. And we heard about drag story time, or yeah, drag queen story time. And I wanted to do it immediately because it sounded like fun, like, and a really cool way to explore drag in other ways, like performance wise, and like how we would read these books out. Gacho, who is now Nacho, when during story time, just like took it over so well, just like naturally was just so good the first time, it like pulled it through. And all the other Mentirosos, like Devin the Dude was really good with making a craft. So then we were like, okay, well, Devin was really like insistent, let's make a craft. So anyway, but I think you should talk a little bit more about like how that developed, because that was definitely something you just like picked up so well. And like,
so story time is not brand new, right? It's not brand new to San Antonio. It's not even brand new to the United States. It's actually all over the world. There's drag queen story time. San Antonio doesn't have one. We've had a couple of little pop-ups with drag queen story time. But Pancho Panza, who's in our group, is born and raised in Monterrey before migrating to the United States. And the story time in Monterrey by the drag queens is really awesome. And they just do it out on the street, like busking. So they just go out, in Mexico, the cool thing is that there's a lot of placitas, right? And there's normally even a Centro. So they'll go to a plaza and they'll just take over the plaza, and they'll do their drag queen story time, and they go all out. If they're going to do Snow White, they wear they look like they're at Disneyland. And it's amazing. So when Pancho saw that, Pancho was already like, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. I don't know how it's gonna happen, but we need to do this. So we already were just like, yeah, eventually this needs to happen. Well, we grew almost overnight, from a group of 3 or 4 to a group of almost 10. And one of the drag performers that joined the troupe goes by Chuy Iglesias. And Chuy Iglesias is a local poet, entrepreneur, and their passion is books. They are one of the trans members of the group, and they have an organization, grassroots, that they're trying to start, called Echale Books. And Echale Books hopefully will become a brick and mortar, on the west side of San Anto, and it'll be a bookstore because there are none. So Chuy Iglesias came in with this, burning passion to promote literacy to children, as Chuy Iglesias, and not as RJ, with their, not as their person. They're already doing that with Echale. They wanted to have this done under their Chuy Iglesias character. So when we got a 4th person, and this 4th person is not just like, ooh, we want to make a play. Ooh, we want to be in the Centro. This person is like, literacy is important. We want to make books attainable, and we want to make books and reading enjoyable. How do we do that? So then it became a very serious thing. Okay, we're not just going to go and pop up a chair. How are we going to do it? Let's plan about this. Let's talk about this. And then we were off, right? We were off. We knew that we had to take everything into consideration. Do we want to be political in story time? Do we want to be body posi in story time? What are we going to teach children? How are we going to teach children? We're very big on consent. We do not, at our drag shows, touch the audience. Hands on ourselves, audience hands on themselves. So all of these things we knew, like, okay, this needs to be said to kids. This needs to be said to kids. Pancho Panza was already doing that with their niblet, their youngest niblet, 5 years old. And they have videos on Instagram talking about consent, where they're exchanging, may I touch you on your arm? Yes, you may touch me on my arm. So things like that, we knew that we wanted to incorporate.
Our first drag king story time was at Galeria Eva. We were really excited to get a really great space offered to us. But then the big decision was, of course, what book are we going to bring in as our first book? We definitely wanted to give Chuy the space to read, because it was definitely a big project that they were a part of. So we just kind of, and we wanted to think about like what kind of ideas we wanted, takeaways we wanted the kids and also the parents to have.
So Emma Hernandez is a very good friend of Los Mentirosos, is the director of the Latinos collection at the San Antonio Public Library, the Central Downtown Library. And so Emma Hernandez brought to Pancho Panza and said, there's this really great book called They Call Me Mix. And They Call Me Mix is written by a non-binary trans educator in Seattle. And the reason that they wrote this is because they are non-binary, and they have young children that they educate, and they wanted to find a way to get the point across about pronouns, their pronouns in particular, or their unique pronoun to young children. So they wrote a book, and it's a beautiful book. It takes you through all of the emotions, happy and sad, and there's going to be some tears, and then in the end, you know, this just sense of calm, of finding oneself. So it is a big book to come out with right out of the gate. But I think that we wanted to set the tone. We wanted to tell parents, this is what our story time is going to be like. Yes, there's a craft. Yes, there's unicorn conchas that are yummy. Yes, there's baby shark and mariachi loco with full props and wings and fire dancing at the end. And I think even ¿cómo se dice? That cumbia line. What do you call it?
Circle?
No, where you go.
Conga line.
Conga line.
There was a conga line.
There was a conga line through the audience of children. It was great. The first Drag King story time was awesome. Vero, who owns Galeria Eva, was just like, my mind is blown. Like, I've never seen anything like this. We had parents that came with infants, and we had parents that came with 13-year-olds, and everything in between, all the ages in between. So it was really, really exciting. An inadvertent Q&A did happen at the end of the read. So the read was fun. Chuy and Pancho are both trans non-binary performers. They both use the pronouns of they and them, ella. Chuy and RJ both go by he, him, él. Now, but at the time they were requesting that they be addressed by the pronouns they, them. So they were the obvious folks to have to read this because it speaks to their identity, right? We all might understand what They Call Me Mix is about and respect it and be able to embrace it. But Chuy and Pancho live it. They know what it feels, you know, to be misgendered or to have somebody use the wrong pronoun, whether it's intentional or not. And that's what the book seeks out to end. So afterward, right after the reading, a hand goes up, and it was a parent, and they just asked a very simple question of, can you just readdress the they, them pronoun? And Chuy and Pancho did. And before they were done with the explanation, another hand. And so it went, another hand, and another hand. So I think that the book takes them about 15, 20 minutes to read, and we had a Q&A that matched that amount of time. And it was parents that had not been exposed to the new pronouns, right? And how do I use them? How do I talk to my kids about them? The full spectrum about pronouns happened at our first story time. So it was a huge success. It did exactly what we wanted it to do. We wanted kids to take away a craft, but we wanted parents, more importantly, to take away this knowledge that they didn't have when they got there. So yeah, our first in real life Drag King story time was a huge success, and we hope to incorporate They Call Me Mix into our virtual story times, because we do want to expand upon pronouns. And then Sirgio and I were really lucky. Our schedule was free about a month or two after learning about the book, buying the book, presenting the Drag King Storytime. Emma Hernandez back at Sapo was lucky enough to have the funding to invite the author and had them for a read at the Latino Books Collection downtown. And we went and we met them, and it was really, really great. So yeah, it was a huge success. We loved our story time, and then we were kind of hooked. Performing to little kids is awesome. Here's the thing, San Antonio, this is a PSA. San Antonio does not know how to get quince hype at anything. It seems to be something that we lose after our adolescence. Puberty kicks in, and then we don't remember how to be silly, how to turn it off and just be silly. So we perform our butts off at an adult show, and it's just kind of like, they give us $1. And then at the end of the night, we'll have people be, oh my God, that was awesome. I've never seen anything like this. I'm going to bring my mom. The other serenatas, this is great. Little kids, however, are at 10 the whole time. When we say, let's do Baby Shark, hey, do you want to get on stage? They all bum rush the stage. They all want to be on the stage. So I hope that my hope is that San Antonio adults will find that parents find that ability to be silly again during the show, and don't bum rush the stage. We don't need y'all to bum rush the stage, but maybe this isn't what you got to do. Crumble up $1, throw it, something. But yeah. So that was that was the inception of Drag King Storytime with Los Mentirosos. Here's something that's really important with Drag King Storytime with Los Mentirosos. It's not just Drag King Storytime, it's Drag King Bilingual Storytime. So that's why also the drag acronym, that's borrowed from drag kings in one of the Carolinas. They do dancing, reading, art, and games. And when I saw that, I was just like, we need to work this. And but we made it bilingual. So that's why ours is dancing, reading, arte, y ganas.
Our first official drag king bilingual story time was at La Botanica, fundraising towards a back to school event for SWU. So annually we host a back to school event. And so that was also one of the first spaces that we integrated both the going back to school as well as our voter education program, which was at that time raising funds and calling our voting lists to donate and engage with us outside of an election year. And so I think part of those spaces, I think, is completely important and interactive and intergenerational, intersectional. I think it's incredibly important to nurture spaces that kind of allow for these conversations to happen.
Well, before everything happened and we ended up stuck at home, we had already discussed making the stories a little bit more interactive. So I think for the show we did for Chewy at the Guadalupe, we did a show and we started incorporating a little bit of acting within the storybooks. So we started, doing a little, as one person would read it, we would mime it in the background and get into character specific for the book and stuff like that. So we knew that we wanted to bring a little bit more of a play kind of quality to the readings. And so once this happened, we were like, how are we going to do that then? So then it was kind of it became overwhelming and kind of I don't know how this is going to work. We're going to have to make videos and we wanted to act them out. And so we started with the Chavo book, with the Chavo. And so we just started kind of putting the scenes together and then figuring out how to edit things. And so then we made the first one, and once we edited everything together and we saw it, it became so exciting. It was oh, this is actually really cute. And I mean, while I was putting it together, I was I don't think little kids are going to be into this, and I think parents are going to be annoyed that we're trying to shove these books. I just thought that it wasn't going to come together as good as it did. And so once that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, kids are really gonna like these. They're really cute. And so we started going like the next time, okay, well, what are we gonna do to this book? And then yeah, I just think it just like after that was just like easy, and you can see like the progression through the series, at how the editing like became a little bit more like kid like, and I just like started understanding like how to bring like the words in so that people were getting the visual at the same time and stuff like that. And so I thought that was fun. That was a fun part of the process. I think I was definitely nervous. We definitely wanted to include exercise, so I knew I was gonna have to use my pocha tongue to speak Spanish. So I was definitely nervous about that, and you can definitely see the progression in those exercise videos. So everybody's learning, not just kids. Parents too are like learning a little bit of Spanish that they didn't have. So anyway.
Yeah. So the in real life versus the virtual. The most we can do with the in real life, or the biggest thing that we can do with the in real life, is like Sergio was saying, is get into costume that relates to the book, right? So our collab with Southwest Workers Union at La Botanica with the Back to SWU kind of funding, we focused on one of our favorite books. We've read it a couple of times in Drag King Storytime, and it's this one right here. It's Esteban de Luna, Baby Rescuer. So all of the books that we do are not only are not only topical, but they're bilingual books, right? And we also try to kind of stick with women authors or trans non-binary authors, and it's just kind of worked out for us that way with the collections that we've picked. So Esteban de Luna, Baby Rescuer, is a book written by a UTSA alum named Larissa Mercado Lopez, and it's a really great book about a little boy that finds and rescues a baby doll, a little girl's traditionally baby doll toy at a park, and then just learns how to care for another being, learns how to care for another being, not only another being, but learns how to care for something that might not be associated with a little boy. So it's really, really great for kind of pushing the binary and showing little boys that you don't have to, have this machismo representation or presentation all the time. So we really, really love that book. And because he's seen as a superhero, he identifies himself as a superhero for rescuing this baby doll. In real life, the whole show becomes about superheroes. So you walk in the door and you get a cape. You always get a crown when you walk in the door at our story times. And then our drag show for Esteban de Luna then becomes a superhero drag king show, where all of the Mentirosos, we dress as our very own superhero, and we go and we perform that way. So that's the big difference between our IRL, in real life performance, and then our virtual performances. Our virtual drag shows or drag king story times, we got to pack a lot of content into a 1 hour window, with the beauty of pre-recorded edited videos. So we started off with El Chavo, and we turned this little libros collection of El Chavo into a video. And then we read Selena live. By the end of it, we were getting to the point where we had Cuauhtemoc, and we were not only reading the Cuauhtemoc book in English and Spanish, we also had a special guest, Lara Rios, come on and read and teach the audience that we have how to also say the shapes in Nahuatl. So the video edit was just a whole new level. It's definitely taken Drag King Storytime and just really just, I mean, it's, we feel awesome about it. We feel really, really great about it. And we wouldn't have known that it could become this without the collaboration, without returning to a collaboration with Swoo, right? Everything that we do with Drag King Storytime, all of the tips that we collect with Drag King Storytime, this is in real life and it carries over to virtual, goes back into creating the content for Drag King Storytime. We're very rascuache Drag Kings. We wear what we have, or we go to the pulga, or we go to the segunda. But with Drag King Storytime, it's hard because you can't give children something used. You know, you have to, and especially during these times in the pandemic, you have to make sure that you're literally operating with gloves, that you're buying new materials, that everything that you give them has been sprayed down with the Lysol and disinfected. So we had to be very, very careful with that. And without the collaboration and getting funded, we wouldn't have been able to do that in this time. The parents have been very, very gracious and very generous, and we have received tips during this time, and that's going right back into our Drag King Storytime for the day that there might not be any funding, and we want to continue to do this. And parents have funded to buy more books or buy more crafts, give the kids a takeaway. So we really appreciate that, that it started off with this kind of micro grant, and now it's like, just with anything that our San Antonio community does, it's becoming a community funded event. So yeah, we're super, super excited. We could not be more appreciative of what came out of this in regard to that.
Also, like, a difference in real life shows and the fear of having to do this online, was also wondering if the kids were gonna be able to sit down and watch all these events. And I mean, and we were okay if they're not watching the whole thing. Like, once they started, you'd see them playing in the background, and but they would get back in every once in a while, and that's cool. But having the crafts, well, like, like in real life, it's fun, they're energetic, they're in. When you're performing, you don't realize that they're going to be kids dancing all around you all of a sudden, and they are, and that's really cool. You get that fun energy. And then converting to online, and we're like, and then we're pre-recording these things. We didn't realize if they would stay into it, but we got to do the little jam sessions in between where we're dancing with them, and you could connect with them on Zoom. And that was like, I didn't realize we were going to be able to connect that intensely. Like, they were really into it. They were answering gacho back or nacho back. They're just like they totally made it worth it. You got all of that fun energy that you need to recharge you to get into the next one and to start editing videos for the next one, because you knew the kids were going to be so receptive and they weren't going to get bored just watching a screen, that we could really still connect with them.
Yeah. So in the real life, we do a little craft takeaway, and we were really good about taking gender into consideration also with the real life. So we just made everything gender neutral. So a cape is gender neutral. An horquilla clamp with a baby shark on it, takeaway craft, was gender neutral. Well, when we got into the books, and especially with the little libros, it's not something like this one with They Call Me Mix, Me Llamen Maestre, where this is a longer read, right? This is a longer book. The content is a little bit, a little heavier, and it takes a little bit more explanation. So when we switched from this format to this entire library of little libros, it allows us to do 3 books, 4 books during one session, right? So we tried to give a packet to put together a full packet that applied to each book, or represented each book. So like with the Cuauhtemoc, we gave out shapes. And shapes, when you're teaching children shapes, is very easy to keep it gender neutral. But we got to the point where we started to talk about pronouns, and every session, we started at session 2 talking about pronouns and actually introducing each of our personas, Nacho and Sergio and Pancho, and Justin, with our pronouns intact or attached. And so when we started to do that, Sergio and I had the conversation of, well, what are we going to do with the craft? Because at one point we sent out a little necklace that was a chavo, right? It was the chavo, the Chapulín Colorado, and it was glittery, and it was a heart, and it was on a ribbon, and so all things that are associated with little girls or with feminine folks, right? And so then the question was, well, then do we send the little boys or folks that identify as male, do we send them a bookmark, or what do we make for them to send to them? And we decided no, that we were just going to send everybody the same thing. We sent out a costume of Cantinflas, which was a hat, DIY, and then a pañuelo, right, a little bandana to put. And so then we asked, okay, should we send out something more like Selena, something for the female identified folks or children to utilize? And we decided that no, we weren't going to do any of those things, that we were going to send out the same thing for everyone. Everyone was going to be a luchador. Everyone was going to wear their own máscara. Everyone was going to get a blue one. Everyone was going to get a pink one and a green one, and you pick what you want to wear that day. So pronouns took on a big life source in Drag King Storytime. At the end, it got to the point where when Nacho came on to do the intro, I introduced myself and I used my pronouns. So now they had seen my pronouns in the video with our theme song at the beginning. They had not only seen my pronouns, they had seen the difference between my pronouns and the pronouns of Pancho Panza and Just Another Dude and Sergio's. And then I came on and I brought them to life. I introduced myself. I used my pronouns again. I showed them, talked to them about what pronouns are, and asked them, what are your pronouns? Do you know that you can pick any pronoun that you want? Do you know that you can dress any way that you want? So, and we did that also bilingual. We talked about the pronoun pronombre. We made sure that we used they, them, and ella. We made sure that we used she, her, and ella. And we got personal feedback. I know that some feedback comes directly to Swoop, but Los Mentirosos, we got personal feedback from some of the community members saying, you know, oh my gosh, thank you for talking about pronouns with the kids. And now our children understand what pronouns are, and our children understand that they can use any pronoun that they want, any day that they want, hour to hour if they want to. So the pronouns became a really big thing when we were able to video source lessons. Video sourcing lessons is awesome because it just, you can do it in graphic form. It's just really, really great. We could not be more happy with the collaboration and being asked to do a 4-part session, being asked to kind of push ourselves into this brainstorming, which books are going to go together with one another. The Little Libros was really great at presenting not only male characters, but female characters, getting to be able to talk about Frida and talk about who Frida was we sent out, that was one of our takeaways. We sent out a little paint palette that if you wet it down, spray it down with some water, and everyone could do their very own drawing, self-portrait or otherwise. Nacho made a rainbow. So yeah, the takeaways really got creative. It got our creative nerve out there, and the kids really loved it.
Yeah.
One of the cutest things that we saw in the interaction was two little girls in Austin that watch. One of them fell down and got a cut on her lip. So when she came to story time on Saturday morning, she had a Band-Aid on her lip. Well, her Band-Aid was a glitter Band-Aid. And I didn't know that she had fallen down. So I said, "Oh, Fiona, you have your mustache on." And she went with it. So the next story time, 2 weeks later, her lip had healed. But she comes on and she has this Band-Aid because Nacho says, "Oh, look, we both have a mustache." So now her Band-Aid became her mustache. So she knew that she had to wear her crown, or she wanted to wear her crown, and she wanted to wear her glitter mustache every time she came to Drag King story time, so that she could look like Nacho. So that part of that interaction and seeing these babies, right, every couple of weeks was awesome. So the pronouns kind of are coming through, and what it means to have this mustache, and that you can have a mustache even though it doesn't grow on your face naturally. If you want one, put one on, go for it. So yeah, we really like the personal interaction with the kids. So yeah, SWU. Who would have thought that the collaboration from Back to SWU, and then in the time of pandemic and little kids looking forward to getting that yellow packet, was just awesome. We couldn't have asked for anything better.
Yeah. What's coming up next? What's on the horizon for Los Mentirosos? What are some of the interests that you all are focusing on?
Well, yeah, definitely the current season is upon us. And so we're really focusing on voting right now. So all of our recent performances have been with Vota Jota. If you haven't visited them on Facebook, you should visit them. And also,
so in the drag world, there's an organization called Drag Out the Vote. And so people apply to be drag ambassadors that really promote voting. And every day you have to do something that's part of the, that was part of the application and part of the requirements, right? So Pancho Panza, who is a huge source of activism and dragtivism here in San Antonio, and now virtually has just really taken off with that, is a Drag Out the Vote ambassador. And so we've made some PSAs, we've made some performances around this. Votajota.com. You can go on there and you can make sure that your voter registration is current so that you're not turned away at the polls. Tejas is really good about doing that. I hear that Florida is really good. We know that Georgia is really good about doing that. So make sure that you're fighting voter suppression and being prepared. So votajota.com is really, really good for that. Another thing, what else after the voting? I mean, we're going to remain vigilant with keeping drag kings out there in San Antonio and making sure that we're seen, making sure that our home bases creatively and I guess like politically are still having content. So I know that we want to do some more things with SWU in regard to the Drag King Bilingual Storytime. We're also always promoting La Botanica, which is our creative night spot, right, for our adults That's our creative home base for our adult content. So definitely some more of that, a lot more music videos. I shot Tragos Amargos downtown on location, 3 sites, from the west side to the east side and downtown. So Tragos Amargos is out there. Look out for that. It's awesome.
Thank you both and the whole Los Mentirosos team. Everybody was extremely amazing and beautiful to see, like the sapitos everywhere, and you know, the individual work and the cumulative work. I know there's a lot of work that went behind the scenes to make sure that these 1 hour sessions were like you know, beautiful and like coordinated and on point. And so I really thank you both for just kind of taking these ideas, marinating on them, and like coming out with them with, you know, what you all do. And so I think I'm super excited for what comes next.
Thank you. Muchas gracias, mis amiguis. Mucho amor. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Bye, Sergio.